Aerial Ace will be forcing the final Protect Shield. Htoad then anticipates the opponent going for that wham bam combo play. There's no Big Mac or fries to be served today. Chandelure gets the Incinerate farm down, leaves with the Shadow Ball, and that is going to be all she wrote. Welcome back to the channel. Buckle up, because today do we have one hell of a battle submission from Htoad. These battles truly will astonish you, no pun intended. A few seasons ago, we was all hoping that Astonish become a good move. I'll be honest, it didn't. It became a pretty mid move. However, Amoonguss was one of the Pokemon that benefited the most. It now runs Astonish, Foul Play and Grass Knot, and that combination makes it somewhat of a Swiss Army knife in the current meta. Htoad is bringing us a very spicy double ghost strategy, utilising Astonish Drifblim on the Say Switch with his twin debuffing moves of Icy Wind and the Sacred Fire, looking to bait out the hardest ghost counter, allowing channel favourite Chandelure to sweep the back line. Without any further ado, let's get into the battle. And in game 1, we see Amoonguss, the little fungus, into the pesky spider. Despite us not being a ghost type, you can see these Astonishes tearing through the spider. We force a Protect Shield. With the Foul Play, the opponent can return fire with a neutral lunge. Amoonguss, despite it being Shadow and Shadow Crime, tanks the damage like an absolute boss, and able to reach the second Foul Play. The opponent goes all in on the spider. We then see the pivot into Chandelure, getting the snipe. Chandelure now a 2 to no shield advantage, and whatever the opponent's in the back was definitely not fancying that work, and the opponent is going to concede the match. In the next battle, we see Amoonguss into Dragonair. Htoad builds up some energy, tries his luck at catching double resisted body slam onto the hot air balloon. The opponent hold their energy, fire off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail lands some decent chip damage, and the opponent then make their own attempt at a catch, catching the Icy Wind onto Gliscopod. Htoad sees it coming in, fires off the Sacred Fire, getting Gliscopod down below half health. Htoad then sends back at Amoonguss. As a shadow, this Pokemon's actually still really bulky. It's got that classic 2000 stat product that Dan always looks for in a Pokemon. We tank the X's a return fire with the Foul Play, securing the knockout. Switch timers are heavily misaligned. Htoad is spamming the switch. If the opponent sends out something that isn't Dragonair, we're in for a good time. The opponent cursing their luck, misaligning the switch timers. This is going to be the easiest shield of Htoad's GBL career. We shield up the Power Whip, back out, comes Dragonair, but it is too little too late as this candle is about to get out of hand. Flame Charge forces the final Protect Shield. We get the Incinerate farm down, and the opponent is going to concede the match. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see the ever-annoying Steel Snake. We see Htoad aggressively send out Chandelure. Despite us hitting for super effective and them hitting for neutral, we're actually getting torn apart quicker than they are. The irony of running a Pokemon that doesn't have that 2000 stat product. Htoad committed a Protect Shield, fired off the Flame Charge, vamping up his attack. The opponent then sends out Annihilate, but these counters are double resisted. Chandelure forced a Protect Shield with the Flame Charge, and we can now come in with either Pokemon, to be honest. This team is so good against Annihilate. Htoad opts to send out Drifblim, and this way you can see the difference between Astonish and Hex. Hex does generate energy better, but Stab Astonishes just do so much raw fast move pressure. Htoad unfortunately gets baited with the Ice Punch, but undeterred, returns fire with the Ice Wind. The opponent invests that final Protect Shield, so stay in school kids, learn to count. The opponent looks to get off the Shadow Ball, but we absorb the damage on Amoonguss, and out comes Toxicroak. Due to their fighting poison typing, they do resist all charge moves, but Shadow Toxicroak cannot tank a hit for shit. We land the Grass Knot. The opponent looks for the resisted counter farm down. Amoonguss says no, gets the Astonish farm down, and we're able to take that game. In the next battle, we see the world's smallest Annihilate. We are triple good into this thing, so this baby version of Annihilate is about to get bullied. The opponent doesn't build up to the Shadow Ball, so we see the instant no shield deployed. Night Slash doesn't do all that much damage. The opponent then sends out Steelix, and here comes the candle. Htoad not messing around, going straight for the Flame Charge. Flame Charge forces the Protect Shield, but that boosted Incinerate is going to do so much damage. Htoad actually just going to completely sack the candle and take his shield advantage. We do have to be mindful, if we send back out Amoonguss, the Psychic Fang will hit for super effective. We actually see Htoad opt to send out the balloon. The opponent fires off the Psychic Fang, which is going to allow him to reach one further Psychic Fang. We obviously shielded, fearful the opponent might have Crunch. The opponent Give up switch, sending out the Penguin. The Penguin is going to be greeted with the neutral Sacred Fire. Sacred Fire forces the Protect Shield, and it's now all down to Amoonguss to clean up. Htoad going to burn the final Protect Shield, blocking up the Hydro Cannon. Htoad now looking to massively overfarm before firing off the Grass Knot. Is Grass Knot enough to knock out? Yes it is. Get that Penguin off my screen. The opponent now finds himself in a very tricky spot. If they send back out Steelix, it's just going to get Astonish farm down. So they opt to send out the Ape. The Ape's going to be straight in and straight out. And Amoonguss is going to sweep the back line. GG's and thanks for playing. Ever since shoutcasting Fill the Boards Amoonguss battles in the Ultra League, I've been fascinated by this Pokemon. I think it is such a slept on pick. In the next battle, we see a tricky lead. So we save switch into the balloon. The opponent fires off the Aerial Ace, force some chip and dip action, and then send out Dubwall. Dubwall instantly greeted with the Icy Wind. You can see the opponent's easily going to be able to survive too. However, they are going to have to full send a Wild Charge or Payback to get rid of us, as Body Slam and Double Kick are both double resisted. Drifblim manages to get Dubwall deep into the red, and let's see if the opponent is going to full send. They full send a Wild Charge. We can now send in Amoonguss. Amoonguss is going to be able to absorb the Body Slam, and perhaps we can get a resisted Astonish farm down. Despite the opponent lowering their own defense, these Astonishes are double resisted, and it's going to be one hell of a farm down. It looks like Htoad fully commits to it and is rewarded, leaving with so much energy. So now if Gligar does return, they're not going to appreciate these neutral Grass Knots. Back out comes Gligar. We fire off the Grass Knot. Grass Knot lands for some very solid chip damage. We see the pivot into Chandelure. The opponent sends out the Penguin. The Penguin's going to be straight in and straight out. Back out comes Gligar, and the opponent can save 2 shields for next season. GG's. In the next battle, we see a fantastic lead. In the battle of the grass types, we hit for neutral, whereas they hit for double resisted. The opponent build up some energy, attempt to make a catch onto Steelix. Htoad banks his energy and sends out the hot air balloon. The opponent fires off the break-in swat, and we see no debuff. The RNG gods smile upon Htoad. We fire off the Sacred Fire, landing for some decent super effective damage. Unfortunately, we're unable to Astonish farm down, and Htoad is happy with Drifblim's contribution. We've got Steelix into a range where we can just fast move, beat it down. Htoad waits out his timer, sends out Chandelure. Chandelure gets the Incinerate farm down, but disaster's struck. The opponent's got Stinky Binky in the back. We fire off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball goes unshielded. We then see the pivot back into Amoonguss. The opponent doesn't make the catch, so this Grass Knot will be forcing a Protect Shield. Amoonguss now has the tough task of beating this toxic core of Carbink plus a Razor Leafer. The opponent force our Protect Shield and then send out Victory Bell. It looks like we're going to have to go for the one shield and farm down. The opponent fires off the Acid Spray. These double resisted Razor Leaves are now chunking. Amoonguss does get the full farm down. The question is, can we survive one Rock Throw? This first Grass Knot will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. The Rock Throw doesn't knock out Amoonguss, withstands the damage, and Amoonguss is once again going to sweep the back line. Get wrecked Carbink and get wrecked Razor Leaf. GG's. In the next battle, we see some Shadow and Shadowcron. A pretty favourable matchup for us, as our Astonishes do hit for neutral, whereas we do resist electric due to our sub-grass typing. We farm up, throw the Foul Play. Foul Play will be forcing a Protect Shield. Magnezone cannot tank a hit for shit. The opponent builds up to a potential Flash Cannon. Not that I think they'll have it. The opponent actually full send a Wild Charge that certainly does not look resisted, and then send out Annihilate. Annihilate instantly greeted with the Foul Play. We then see the pivot into Drifblim. Drifblim can go for the one shield, Astonish farm all the way down. It looks like Htoad has other ideas, not wanting to let Magnezone get free farm, instead sends out Chandelure. Chandelure gets the Incinerate farm down, and out comes Mantine. Htoad going for a very risky Flame Charge bait, as Mantine is incredibly bulky. The opponent actually crapped their pants, putting up that Protect Shield. We're going to see Htoad essentially start shielding everything. We shield at the first Aerial Ace. The opponent is going to be able to outpace to Aerial Ace number 2, and we're going to burn the final Protect Shield. Htoad anticipates the opponent going for that wham bam combo play. Says not today trainer, catches the Wild Charge back onto Amoonguss. Chandelure now gets the Incinerate farm down, leaves with the Shadow Ball, and Chandelure is going to be a Mantine counter confirmed. Very, very nice endgame. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, this time we see Mantine out in the lead. We see the instant pivot into Drifblim. The opponent, of course, does have access to Ice Beam. That will hit us for a lot of super effective damage. Htoad looks to call the bait. The opponent is not baiting, but Drifblim able to hang on a sliver of HP, return fire with the Icy Wind, forcing us early shield advantage. Mantine very much a core breaker for this team. Htoad sends out Chandelure. Chandelure not going to appreciate even an aerial ace. Aerial ace is always a move that I call aerial ass, but Chandelure is so glassy. Htoad has very quickly gone from a 2-to-1 shield advantage to being all shields down. Htoad farms up to the double flame charge. So if the opponent shields the first, they're just going to get knocked out by the second. The opponent recognising that, save their protect shield, send out Annihilate. Are you serious, trainer? This cannot be your best answer for Chandelure. Flame charge, forces the protect shield, then pivot back out into Amoonguss, drawing out Ferrothorn. The recommended moveset for Ferrothorn is going to be Power Whip plus Thunder. And if that's the moveset this opponent's got, they're going to be completely walled by Amoonguss, aka their little Fungus. The opponent reveals that is their moveset. If you are Ferrothorn, stuck against an Amoonguss or a Grass and Poison type, probably more commonly something like a Venus or Thunder is the correct move to throw, as it is single resisted, whereas Power Whip would be double resisted. We see Htoad farm up to 100 energy, throw the foul play, securing the knockout, back out, comes Annihilate, and we're going to go for the hard hitting Grass Knot. Grass Knot gets the 8 deep into the raid, we then see the pivot into Chandelure, forcing the energy. The opponent can fire off the Night Slash, securing the knockup, and one Astonish is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see Amoonguss into the Pancake. Another very nice lead for us. I think Amoonguss is such a sleeper pick. I was expecting Chandelure to be the star of this show, but Amoonguss is stealing the spotlight. We easily withstand the Mud Bomb. We then farm up, throw the Grass Knot. Grass Knot should be securing the knockout from this range. The opponent invests that protect shield. The opponent then get greedy, plays the CMP tie. They do not win, and Amoonguss is absolutely popping off. Grass Knot forces the final protect shield, and we're not even in Mud Bomb range. We see the instant no shield deployed. Mud Bomb doesn't get the job done. The opponent is going to be forced to dump the remainder energy, and Htoad is just going to take his 2-to-no shield advantage. Htoad now sends out the hot air balloon. Of course, we will need to respect the potential discharge. I see no reason to bait. It only costs 5 more energy. Htoad shields up the discharge, then throws 3 Astonishes and the Icy Wind for optimal fast move time, and Icy Wind will be securing the knockout. The opponent now send out Berserker. We see the instant pivot into Chandelure, drawing out Mantine. This is somewhat of a tricky spot. Of course, Berserker does have access to foul play, which will be one-shot in our balloon. Htoad going all in on the candle. We shield the aerial ace, over farm, fire off the Shadow Ball, get that Mantine off my screen. The opponent does get the full Shadow Claw farm down. Can Drifblim survive a foul play? We've seen Drifblim as a respectable bulk. The opponent fire off the Trailblaze, they mustn't have the move. Drifblim easily withstands the damage, returns fire with the Sacred Fire, and we're able to take that game. Moving on to the next battle. We'll lead Shadow Amoonguss into Dub Wall. Not a particularly good matchup for us. We do resist the double kicks. The opponent double resists our Astonishes, however they do far out spam us. We see Htoad farm up, attempt to make a very risky body slam catch onto the balloon. And now we're going to be greeted with either a wild charge or payback. The opponent fire off the wild charge, the balloon able to withstand the damage and return fire the Icy Wind. Icy Wind goes unshielded, but that is a CMP tie, which essentially is best case scenario. The wild charge did so much damage to us that a debuff double resisted body slam is going to knock out. Htoad now sends out Chandelure. Chandelure able to get a very nice Incinerate farm down, and out comes Shiny Gligar. Gligar instantly greeted with the Flame Charge. Flame Charge forces the opponent's first Protect Shield. Htoad going to be shielding up the incoming aerial ace. Very nice Shiny from the opponent. I'm very jealous. The opponent then attempt to make a catch it onto Go-Go. We bank all our energy and then make a catch back onto Amoonguss. Go-Go can only hit us for resisted, so I think it's safe to say it's going to be curtains for this opponent. Amoonguss is going to get the full Astonish farm down. We're going to leave with a charge move, and the opponent can pick their poison. They've still got one shield to hide behind. We've got energy here, there, and every fucking where. We fire off the foul play. The opponent recognises the game's over, tank the charge move on the chin, essentially conceding the match. GG's. In the next battle, we see once again Mantine in the lead. A very tricky Pokemon for us to deal with, but Htoad has navigated it very well to this point in the video. The opponent makes our life easier, not building up to the Ice Beam, just fire off the aerial ace, force some chip damage, and then send out Steelix. Steelix is going to be greeted with the super effective Sacred Fire. The opponent shields the first move, and if they look for the full Dragon Tail farm down, we're going to reach the second. This won't knock out, but we'll put a 2-stage debuff on the opponent. The opponent actually double shield. Holy cow. I've got no idea why you 2-shield one of the bulkiest shadows you could possibly run. You can see after a 2-stage debuff to their attack, these non-stab psychic fangs, despite being super effective, are just tickling. We tank both. We see the aggressive pivot into Chandelure. The opponent throws at really poor timing, and Chandelure is quite literally about to start cooking. The opponent not wanting to give us free energy, send back out Mantine. Mantine instantly greeted with the Shadow Ball. Oh baby, look at the damage. We're able to get the Incinerate farm down. The opponent now thinking about what they want to send out. Back out comes Steelix. Steelix gets Incinerate farm down. And the opponent's final Pokemon is Ferrothorn. Holy moly, look at the damage. Absolute carnage. We shield up the Power Whip, commit to the Incinerate farm down. And Chandelure absolutely runs rampant. Let's go. In the next battle, we see Mr. Potato Head in the lead. A pretty nice matchup for us, especially when they're running Spark, as Grass does resist Electric. I'm already trying to stop myself laughing from the last battle, and every time I see Probopass, it just makes me chuckle. It literally is like Mr. Potato Head from Toy Story. But we've got distracted, so returning to the commentary, we tank the Rock Slide, return fire with the Grass Knot. Potato Head is very bulky. You can see they easily withstand the Grass Knot. We see Htoad looking to get this thing out of here. We shield up the next Rock Slide, over farm, fire off the Foul Play. Foul Play goes unshielded, and we see the instant pivot into Drifblim. Temporarily out comes Gallade. The opponent then sends out Victory Bell, and the opponent is completely core broken. Icy Wind forces the Protect Shield. I don't even think the opponent can knock us out. What are you going to throw, trainer? Sludge Bomb, Leaf Blade. It's all resisted. The opponent fires off the Leaf Blade. Unfortunately, Leaf Blade did a lot more than I was anticipating, especially after a debuff. We now send back out Amoonguss. Amoonguss gets the full Astonish farm down. Back out comes Gallade, and Gallade is going to be instantly greeted with the Foul Play. Foul Play forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent does get the full Psycho Cut farm down. We're going to call the opponent isn't running Synchronize. The opponent fire off the Leaf Blade. Holy crap, that did so much damage. We're able to tank it, Incinerate farm down, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see a huge core breaker, the mighty Shadow Zapdos, aka the King of the Skies. We see Htoad trusting his IVs, knowing he tanks a super effective Drill Peck from Shadow Zapdos. We're able to force ourselves shield advantage in a really rough match. We then send out Drifblim again. We're going to call the Drill Peck. Holy crap, calling that bait isn't something we can do particularly well, as it almost knocked us out. Htoad then returns fire with the Icy Wind. The opponent goes all in on Zapdos, then pivot into Poliwrath. Poliwrath does get a very nice double resisted counter farm down, but it's now 2-shield Chandelure time. This is almost certainly an Icy Wind. However, we've got 2 shields, we may as well start using them. Htoad shields up the Icy Wind, returns fire with the Shadow Ball. This is debuff, but Chandelure doesn't care about any debuff as we've got such a high attack stat. The opponent then sends out Superior. We reset our debuff, sending back out Amoonguss. We then fire off the Flame Charge. Flame Charge, gonna be one-shot and get that Superior out of it. The opponent sends back out Zapdos. The Incinerate has gone through, so we can shield this move up. The Incinerate is going to take him out, and Drifblim sweeps the back line. GG's, and thanks for playing. Huge shout out to Htoad for submitting some very entertaining battles. I think the star of the show was actually Amoonguss. I think Amoonguss is such a slept-on pick. We've seen it now in the Great League Remix. We've seen it in the Ultra League. I think it's even got potential in the Great League. Of course, we all know Chandelure is an absolute monster and always makes me chuckle every time I get to shoutcast it. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. A link to our battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching. And I'll see you all in the next one.